doing, you silly Billy? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. I'm good, how are you? Tired. We had a bit of a rough night because, you know, we had a vaccine yesterday, so she's had a rough night last night, but we survived. Did the Nespresso machine survive then? Pre-check got sorted out. Yay! Thank you. Oh, a little bit of spit, a little bit of spit, a little bit of drool, a little bit of drool, a little bit of drool. Someone's not asleep, so I'm gonna move the tripod to the standing position for obvious reasons. Oh, there's a second one here. I thought this was empty for some reason. Should we get the milk? Yeah? Here's the milk. 3-year-old woke up like 6 times last night. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My baby is exactly 5 months old yesterday, so she is a solid 5 months old. What are you looking at? This cupboard? You looking at the cupboard? Morning, April. Morning, Brittany. Morning, everyone in general. I know, it's crazy, right, Isabella? How is she 5 months old already? I don't know. I don't know. It seems almost impossible. Morning, Jen. Let's go move the tripod. Okay, that's crazy. It means baby has been cooking for 5 months now. It feels like I just want to... It does feel that way, Stephanie. I mean, like, I know you didn't tell us immediately, but it feels like... this is going to sound awful, and you know I mean this in the best way. It feels like you've been pregnant forever. In so much as we're waiting for... how are you today out of a 10? I'm good. I'm tired, though. So maybe like 5 out of 10. As far as tiredness goes, but you know, good other than that. We're here, we're starting our day happy. She talked to Grandma this morning, told her all about the doctor. Yeah, you told Grandma about your doctor's appointment? Yeah. Wanna lay your head down, take a nap? What do you think? What do you think? There's something I'm gonna do today in our neighborhood. There's something called, oh, thank you, Isabella. There's something called a mom, like stroller walk, with like a mom club in the neighborhood. So I'm going to go to that today as long as she's feeling up for it. It's this morning. I don't usually do stuff like that. I usually, you know, spend my days working, of course, but yeah, there's so many fun things to look at. But I'm going to take the time today to go and try to meet up with some other moms, and maybe that'll feel, you know, good for both of us. We stopped going to those. They refunded me, or like gave me credits to go to other stuff for that Priscilla. It's a long story, but like they kind of duped us on those classes, so we haven't been going. It's kind of lame, actually, what happened. So I need to like use those credits for something else. It was a really kind of like sad situation, to be honest. So we haven't gone over like we only went just 3 times. Yeah, they definitely, there was definitely some false advertising going on there, right, my angel? It was very, very weird situation. And they admitted that they didn't know what was going on, and they credited us back. Yeah, it was sad. It was sad. All right, should we put the milks away? Yeah. Okay. Does your local library do mom parent music time? No, they only do stuff for older kids, not for her age. There's stuff for like toddler and above. So yeah, we'll figure something else out. Hopefully there'll be moms with kids her age at the I know. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. You think that's silly? Is mommy so silly? I know, it's so cute, right? I sent a picture of it to Mina this morning because it's all bees. 2 weeks into me knowing, she did. She's chosen violence. She's chosen violence at you. It's true. But you know what? We're all going to be so excited when she finally arrives, Stephanie. Because we've been waiting for her for so long. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you guys didn't even find out about her until we were in the 2nd trimester, and it still felt like you guys were waiting for her for forever, right? And that was 2nd trimester. You get to see her tomorrow. That's exciting. If you feel comfortable. I was going to say, yeah, you should post the ultrasounds. Yeah. Ah, coffee. The most needed part of the morning. Do you guys drink coffee? How many of you actually drink coffee? And how many of you are looking at me like I'm a psycho for needing it? I do. I can't live without it. She's looking at me like I'm a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You see Screen Mommy? Yeah, is that your Screen Mommy? Speaking of book club babies, how's Mary doing? That's a good question. Where is she? She just bought a lark for her baby. That was the first book club baby, right? Wasn't Autumn our first book club baby? I need it, but it's a no again. Bummer, Stephanie, bummer. She's asking where her coffee is. Wait, you guys, I can't, wait, I have coffee IV. Yeah, I would have a coffee IV. Yeah, she was our first book club baby. That was forever ago. Wow. That seems wild. And then my sister it wasn't in book club, but we were on baby watch for my sister with Ethan. Well. Yeah, see, her baby gets her coffee at the next feed. That's right. She laughed at that. She thought that was funny, Stephanie. You think Stephanie's a funny one? She's got your friend in there. Yeah, she's making you a buddy. She's building you a buddy. Bit by bit. Bit by bit. All the book club babies. I was undiagnosed ADHD for many years, so coffee was my regular. Wait, question. Literal question, Jen. When you got diagnosed and if and when you were put on Build-A-Bear Buddy. Yeah, Build-A-Baby. That's funny. When you were put on meds, did you stop drinking coffee? This is a serious question. So my brother and his wife are both on ADHD meds. He needs coffee, she doesn't. which I always think is an interesting indicator that's not everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're still young, Isabella. Okay, so I accidentally just saw her face when she didn't interview. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, she does try to do that. You know what's funny? I did for the first 6 months, then I added it back. Oh, okay. As for taste, because I genuinely like coffee. I know not everybody likes coffee, but I genuinely enjoy coffee. Like it's a part of my day that I. You have a sleepy nugget too. I wish I had a sip for taste. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I also enjoy it. Do you enjoy it secondhand? What was I going to tell you? You want to hear something crazy that my mother said to me today? Oops. Oh, jeez. This morning, my mother was looking at her and she said, "Gosh, Sasha, if you guys have any other children, it's going to be kind of hard for them." And I was like, "Why is it going to be hard for them?" And she was like, "Well, because she's so beautiful." And I was like, who's to say if we had another one, they also wouldn't be beautiful? And she was like, "That's a high bar." I was like, "Oh my God, you're their grandmother. What is the matter with you?" Interesting, caffeine does nothing for ADHD. It actually makes you more tired. If you take your meds, interesting. But what if you don't take your meds? Taster if the meds aren't working as well. Yeah, that's true. I was like, "Mom, you have to love them all equally. That's how it works. You're their grandmother. You're their grandma. Like she's about to have 4 grandchildren. Her 4th grandchild is going to be born in about 3 weeks. Obviously, we don't know exactly when, but my sister-in-law is due July 18th. So give or take 3 weeks, she's going to have 4 grandchildren. 4 grandchildren. It's amazing the amount of coffee I used to consume. I know that 12 shots is where my heart says no. Jen, I don't know if you know this about me, but when I go places other than home, doc reality, that's true. My mom very admittedly loves certain ones more than others. She doesn't hide it. Oh my gosh, that's terrible, Priscilla. So my outside of the house coffee order, if I'm somewhere else, is a quad espresso over ice. That's the only thing I trust other places to make. So like I'm with you, Jen. That's like my starting order every morning when I used to live in the city and I would walk to work and get a coffee on the way to work, quad espresso over ice. Boom. You talked about I didn't realize it was your brother's wife. Yes, it was my brother's wife. They've been married for 2 years, actually. Yeah, if you guys didn't have another, it would be just, yeah, exactly, Avery. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've been married 2 years. Yeah, quads forever. Jen, I really wish you lived closer. Everybody, I wish book club was an in-person thing. Like, I feel like every time we find out something new about each other, we're like, same, you know? I have a different thing that I want from each person. Like, I wish we all lived in the same neighborhood, but for all different reasons. You know what I mean? Isn't that funny? For a lot of reasons. But anyway, it's funny. 7-shot Americano, no water, heavy cream. Yes, no Splenda for me, but I would drink that exact order without Splenda, Christy. Of course, Roxy, everybody. We all have different things. Can you not lick my arm? Excuse me, my apologies. While I wipe my arm. She's literally licking my arm. You know what's not a great feeling? That. Oh my gosh, Isabella, you're not an imposter. Age does not make, she is in puppy mode. Age does not make, what's the word? Value. Age does not. If I can't think of a word, like in that situation, it's not because I don't know what I wanted to say. It's because I don't have any brain cells. Oh, are we gonna sleep? Wouldn't that be nice? What if my puppy could fall asleep? Sleepy puppy, sleepy puppy. Yeah, we all just need to make a farm with multiple houses and so not Switzerland, if I may, Austria, the north of Italy, any of those places. I've been to all of those places, and those ones are very. I've been to Switzerland also. I was young when I went there, though. Yeah, Avery is also on the younger side. You know who the youngest in the group is, though? And it's about to be baby E. You know, from Stephanie. It's going to be our youngest member. So you might think you're young, but you're physically old enough to be her mother. And so licks my arm, nearly 12 years old, and I hug him every time because he's too cool for hugs. Yeah, you're like, here, I'll get you back. I'll hug you. We were talking yesterday, my husband and I, about how when she's going to be so old that she won't want to hold our hand anymore, and how we're going to cry. I feel that way sometimes if I'm not young, but I'm not a mom. Yeah, but you know what I mean? I think it's about half and half. Half the people are moms, half the people are young, half the people are older. You know what I mean? There's even some grandmas. So like my My friend and I talked about getting a compound golden girling it. Partners are invited too, right? Yeah. Yes, Jen. I think so. And everyone has a different skill set. Andrea, so is Isabella. Don't cry. Isabella's 16. What was I gonna say? I think what we could say is like everyone has a different skill. So if we all lived on a commune, we would all have a different thing to offer. I don't know if you guys know this. I think Victoria's like 21, so like she's not like older or anything. I know she's not a teenager, but like close, right? Avery, aren't you like 23? I think something like that. I don't know. Not that it matters. Like the age is irrelevant. Oh, speaking of Victoria, and she shall arrive. 20. Okay, so you're 20. See, you're almost 18. I think the affection is normalized in your house, then they hold your hands longer. I hope so. I always hold her hand when you're almost 24. I flipped those. Okay, I thought Avery was 23, and I flipped Avery and Victoria's ages. We talk about running our apocalyptic school with all the different skills. Yeah. Jen, I got skills. Can I be included? Hi, Sydney. Hey, Abby. Wait, I have skills. I can knit. I can a little bit sew. I can teach baby wearing now. I can do science stuff. I am technically an English teacher, so I can teach the kids how to read and write. And I can multitask. Sydney wants in too. She's a great editor. I can speak from experience. I'm a GG. Yeah, see? Yeah, exactly. Christy's a grandma. Even among book club, we could run our own society. I agree. See, Samantha can crochet and cook and make I want some sourdough. You can do it on horseback. There you go. See, Roxy Roxy is a chef. That's true. Roxy should do the cooking. Sorry, I've been very active during book club for a while. I lost track with book. Oh no, you're totally fine. My husband's a math teacher. Can we join? Yeah, we need a math teacher. I'm really bad at math. Really, really bad though. You can bake and sew and edit. Yeah. So we have enough people who can sew and knit that we could make all our own clothes. People, you don't even have to teach cooking, Roxy. You can just be the chef. Oopsawa. Bake all the sugar-free and gluten-free things. Great, because my niece and nephew are gluten-free, so we're gonna need that. I can do stuffs and I love child. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. We do. We need someone to watch all the kids, teach history, and to know all the food preservation stuff. Great. See, we're gonna survive. When the whole thing, I'm about to be adopted daughter can crochet too. Great. I love kids. Leave me with all the kids. Good. What did I miss? Can I be a part? Yes, you can be a fitness instructor. Absolutely. Have you tried the pickle ramen? I can't, because that brand has sugar in it, Isabella. I can't eat it. You grew up on a farm, Victoria? Great. Come on in. I don't know if you guys know this, but Tressa can fix almost anything, like sinks and whatnot. So we're including Tressa. I have too many hobbies. Same. Big same. That's a relatable content, Roxy. Tressa and I were literally just talking about that yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. Time is a construct. But we were talking about how we both have too many hobbies and it like we don't get to do any of them. I'll bring a huge library. Yeah, library and animals. Yes, there's a pickle ramen. I think it's top ramen. Does top ramen not have sugar in it? Am I crazy? I thought their little packets had sugar in it. Oh, not top ramen. It's cup noodle. Am I crazy? Maybe I imagined that. I would like to try it if I did imagine that. Naisa's here. Naisa does volunteer work, you guys, so that we can like have a write-off for our commune with all her volunteer work. Naisa, you're our official volunteer. I also do volunteer work, but mine's not as wholesome as Naisa's. Is Secret Baby finally taking a nap? 8:49. Yeah, we've re-upped the idea of the commune, Anya. I know you already knew about this. We want the commune because we don't trust the world, I guess, kind of. Allergic to sugar. I have PCOS. I'm almost a teacher. I can cook. Hey, listen. I mean, considering some people, your job is to be our head of volunteerism. Your voice is so healing to you. Oh, to her. Yeah, I hope so. My fiance is a plumber. We do need a plumber. My mom is a really good doctor, you guys. It's true, actually. I know we talk a lot about like a lot of issues that we all have and different things like that with like family and stuff like that. But I have to tell you, the pickle ramen does have sugar. I thought so. Yeah, I thought so, Susan. You can make snacks and test slime. That sounds great. You currently require, see, we do need a plumber. But what I was going to say is my mom is actually a really good doctor, like really good. The kind of doctor that like you want to have on your side because she's really good at triage, which means she can basically look at somebody and be like, oh, your appendix is about to burst, and then like send them to the ER just in time. You know what I mean? Like that is a useful skill. Yeah. It's just, oh, mechanics. We could use a mechanic. Yeah, I don't know anything about cars. So I think we're going to do well, actually. Hubby can fix and build vehicles and houses and stuff. Great. We need some, oh. Wait, is that true, Ray? Because we need a we need a financial advisor. Does anyone have a suggestion? How's the world in Italy? Just saying that is where we want to build this commune, Anya. In in what? In Tuscany, you know, like out in the hills where no one will bother us. You know? Like out in between the walled cities. Yeah. I think that's it. Good with animals? We do need animals. Yeah, someone has to walk all the dogs and take care of them. Yeah. I'm also good with animals, but I can be absolutely used. Yes. I know it's just yeah, I know just enough. Yeah. Can someone bring a boyfriend for me? I mean, if somebody brings their unwed brother, we do have a plan. Will there be cats? Yeah, my brother and sister-in-law have like a million cats, so definitely cats. If anybody goes to Italy, please let me give you suggestions when you're going. Tell me where you're going, and if it's a town I've been to, please let me give you suggestions. Okay, I'll commute back to visit my husband. He refuses to come as an expat. Really? Mine doesn't really want to either, but the more that the world changes, the more he thinks about it. Like, when we first got together, he was like, really, really, Sasha, every time. And then now with the state of the world, he's like, maybe we really should work on your Italian citizenship. I'm like, not allowed to adopt one since my brother's allergic. Oh, when you're older, you can have one. If you went, Secret Husband would go in a heartbeat. Yeah, he would come. There are some companies in Europe that do the work that he does. He wouldn't be able to stay at the company that he's currently at, but there are some companies in Europe that do it as well. And then, although I was like, what I told him, I mean, call me crazy here. Hey, Amanda, how are you? James isn't a fan of larger groups. Yeah, but he can just stay in your little corner of the commune. He doesn't have to come out to the parties. Like, I don't love large groups either. We're going to meet up in small groups. What I was telling Secret Husband was, I was like, look, here's the sitch. Well, but like, Cindy, why do they have to know? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I told him. I was like, look, you work from home for the time being anyway. If we moved there and you just kept your same schedule, how would they know that you were in Italy and not here? It's just the inside of a house from your Zoom calls. They don't know. As long as you kept the same schedule. So yeah, he would have to work like different hours. Oh, the VPN. Oh, I didn't think of that. I work for Hilton. Yeah, Hilton, you can literally go anywhere. Beans, please be advised that our necessary repair system to our fire alarm will be today. How often do we have to have fire alarm testing in this building? Is this a joke? All right, we better read before that starts. God almighty. See, this is why we need to move to Italy. They wouldn't be doing this to me right now. Hey, Morgan. All right, well, let's try to get through a chapter before they have to do it again. Well, yeah, it was less than 6 months ago because she was alive. So it had to be, we are almost done with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and we're about to start the new one really soon because I know, it's like they know she's asleep. Look how much we have left, like nothing, right? All right, we're on chapter 28. Let's get into it. My fiance and I were recently very close to the Canadian border. It took us a lot. Yeah, I mean, I believe that, Stephanie. It would have taken me a lot not to just be like, do we think we could just... It was during the first Hunger Games book, so not that long ago. Not that long ago. Yeah, it did say they had to repair something, so I don't know. It's gonna stink, though. Chapter 28. Coriolanus turned his back to the cage, leaning on the table with his hands, waiting. It's like this, said Sejanus, his voice rising with emotion. Some of the rebels are leaving District 12 for good, heading north to start a new life, away from Panem. Oh, speaking of going north, Stephanie, why my baby remembers this and nothing else is me. I mean, listen, who knows anymore? Wait, but other Stephanie just said it took a lot for her not to cross over the Canadian border, and that's literally what Sejanus is talking about right now, basically. He's not saying Canada, but he said north above Panem. They said if I help them with Lil, I can go too. As if questioning the claim, Coriolanus raised his eyebrows. Sejanus's words tumbled out. I know, they need me. The thing is, they're determined to free Lil and take her with them. If they don't, the Capitol are going to hang her with the next lot of rebels that they bring in. The plan is simple, really. The prison guards working 4-hour shifts. I'm going to go drug a couple of Ma's treats and give them to the outside guards. This medicine that they gave me in the Capitol, it knocks you out. Like that. We're on chapter 28. Exactly, Sloth. Sejanus snapped his fingers. I'll take one of their guns. The inside guards are unarmed, so I can force them into interrogation room at gunpoint. It's soundproof, so no one's going to be able to hear them yell. And then I'll get Lil. Her brother can get us through the fence. We'll head north immediately. We should have hours before they discover the guards. And since we're not going through the gate, they're going to assume that we're hiding on the base. And so they'll lock it down and they'll search here first. By the time they figure it out, we're all going to be long gone. No one hurt, no one the wiser. Coriolanus dropped his head and rubbed his brow with his fingertips, as if trying to collect his thoughts, unsure how long he could refrain from talking without seeming suspicious. But Sejanus hurried on. Well, I couldn't go without telling you. You're as good to me as any brother could be. I'll never forget what you did for me in that arena. I'll try to figure out some way to let Ma know what happened to me, and my father, I suppose. Let him know the Plinth name lives on, if only in obscurity. There it was, the Plinth name. That was enough. His left hand found the remote and he pressed the neutral button with his thumb. The Jabberjay resumed the song that it had been singing earlier. Something caught Coriolanus's eye. Hey, here comes Bug. Here comes Bug, the bird repeated. Hush, you silly thing, he told the bird, but inwardly it pleased him that it had resumed its normal neutral pattern, nothing to alert Sejanus there. He quickly snapped the cloth in place and marked it with J1. We need another water bottle. One of them broke, said Bug as he entered the hangar. One broke, said the bird in Bug's voice, and then it began to imitate a passing crow. Yeah, I'll find one. Coriolanus handed him the cage, and as Bug left, Coriolanus crossed over to a bin where they kept the supplies and began to dig around. Better to stay away from the other Jabberjays while the conversation continued. If they started mimicking too much, Sejanus might wonder why the first bird had been so silent. Not that they really knew how the birds worked. Dr. K had not explained that to the group at large. It sounds crazy, Sejanus. So many things could go wrong. Coriolanus rattled off a list. What if the guards don't want your Ma's treats? Or one does and collapses while the other's watching? What if the inside guards call for help before you get them in the room? And what if you can't find a key to Lil's cell? What do you mean her brother's going to get you through the fence? Anyway, no one's going to notice him, cutting through a fence? Nah, there's a weak spot in the fence behind the generator. It's already loose or something like that. Look, I know a lot of things have to go right, but I think that they will. Sejanus sounded as if he was trying to convince himself. I mean, they have to. If they don't, then they're going to arrest me now instead of later, right? When I'm wrapped up in something worse. Coriolanus shook his head unhappily. You're trying to tell me I can't change your mind? Sejanus was adamant. No, I've decided. I can't stay here, and we both know it. Sooner or later, I'll snap. I can't do the peacekeeping work in good conscience, and I can't keep endangering you with all my crazy plans. But how will you live out there? Coriolanus found a box with a new water bottle. We got some supplies, and I'm a good shot, said Sejanus. He had not mentioned the rebels having guns, but apparently they did. All right, but what about when the bullets run out? Oh, we'll figure something out. Fish, net birds. They say there are people in the north, Sejanus told him. Coriolanus thought of Billy Top luring Lucy Gray to that imaginary outpost in the wilderness. He had heard about it from the rebels, or had the rebels heard about it from him? But even if there aren't people there, there's no capital anyway, Sejanus continued. And that's the main thing for me, isn't it? Not the districts or any of that. Not student, not peacekeeper. It's living in a place where they can't control my life. I know it seems cowardly running away, but I'm hoping that once I'm out of here, maybe I can think straighter and come up with some way that I can help the districts. Fat chance, thought Coriolanus. It'll be amazing if you survive the winter. He pulled the water bottle from its packaging. Well, he said, I guess all there is to say that I'll miss you and good luck. He felt Sejanus moving for an embrace when Bug came through the door and held up the water bottle. Found one. I'll let you get back to your work. Sejanus gave a wave and left. Coriolanus went on mechanically covering and marking the cages while his mind raced. What should he do? Part of him wanted to run to the hovercraft and erase Jabberjay #1 and put it on play and then neutral and then record and then neutral again and then swing in succession so that it would have nothing memorized but the distant shouts of the soldiers on the tarmac. But then what would his options be? To try to dissuade Sejanus from his plan? He had no confidence that he could do that, and even if he did, it was only a matter of time before Sejanus came up with another scheme. To rat him out to the base commander, well, he would likely deny it, and if the only proof lay in the Jabberjay's memory bank, Coriolanus would have nothing to back up his accusations. He didn't even know the time of the breakout, so no trap could be set, and where would that leave him with Sejanus? Or if that got out, the entire base, a snitch, an unreliable snitch at that, and a troublemaker? He'd take care not to speak while the Jabberjay was recording so as not to incriminate himself in any way, but Dr. Gall would get the reference to the arena, and she would understand the taping had been intentional. If he sent the bird to the Citadel, she could decide how best to handle the matter. She'd probably put it in a call to Strabo Plinth and discharge Sejanus and send him home before he did any damage. Yeah, that would be best for everybody. He dropped the remote into the bin of bird supplies. If all went well, Sejanus Plinth would be out of his hair in a matter of days. The calm proved short-lived, and Coriolanus awoke after a few hours of sleep from a terrible dream. He'd been in the stands of the arena looking down at Sejanus, who knelt beside Marcus's wrecked body. He was sprinkling with breadcrumbs, unaware that a multicolored army of snakes was closing in on him from all sides. Coriolanus screamed at him over and over again to get up, to run. But Sejanus didn't seem to hear. By Jen, I'll upload it later. When the snakes reached him, he had plenty of screaming of his own to do. Guilt-ridden and slick with sweat, Coriolanus realized that he had not thought through the ramifications of sending the Jabberjay. Sejanus could be in real trouble, so he leaned over the side of his bunk and was reassured for a moment by the sight of Sejanus sleeping peacefully across the barrack from him. He was overreacting, surely. Most likely the scientists would never even hear the recording, let alone pass it on to Dr. Gall. Why would they bother to press play on a bird? There was no reason to, really. The Jabberjays had been tested at the hangar already, and it had been a questionable act, but it would not result in Sejanus' death. Not by snake, not otherwise. That thought soothed him until he realized that in that case he was back to square one and in grave danger for knowing about the rebels' plan. Lil's rescue, the escape, even the weak spot in the fence behind the generator weighed on him. That chink in the capital armor, the whole idea of the rebels having secret access to the base, well, it frightened him. It infuriated him. This breaking of the contract, this invitation to chaos, and all that could follow, didn't these people understand that the whole system would collapse without the capital's control? They all might as well run away to the north and live like animals because that's what they've been reduced to? It made him hope that the Jabberjay did deliver its message after all. But if the capital officials did by chance hear Sejanus' confession, what would they do to him? Would buying rebel guns to use against the peacekeepers be cause for execution? No, wait, he hadn't recorded anything about illegal guns, only the part about Sejanus stealing the peacekeepers, but, well, that was bad enough. Maybe he was doing Sejanus a favor. If they caught him before he had a chance to act, maybe he could just get prison time instead of a more severe sentence. Or, most likely, old Plinth would buy him out of whatever trouble that he faced. Put the bill for a new base for District 12 or something. Sejanus would get kicked out of the peacekeepers, of course, which would make him happy, and he'd probably end up with a desk job back in his father's munitions empire, which would not make him happy. Miserable, but alive. And most importantly, he would be someone else's problem. Sleep evaded Coriolanus for the rest of the night, and his thoughts turned to Lucy Gray. What would she think about him if she knew what he had done to Sejanus? She'd hate him, of course. Her and her love of freedom for the Mockingjays, for the Jabberjays, for the Covey, for everybody. She'd probably support Sejanus' escape plan entirely, especially since she'd been locked in the arena herself. He'd be a capital monster, and she'd run back to Billy Top, taking with her what little happiness he had left. In the morning, he climbed down from his bunk, tired and irritable. The scientist had flown home to the capital the night before, leaving his squad to its dull routines. He dragged through the day, trying not to think about how in a couple of weeks he should be starting his education at the university with a full ride, choosing his classes, touring the campus, buying his books. As to the Sejanus dilemma, he accepted that no one would ever hear the Jabberjay's dispatch, and he should just
corner him and throttle some sense into him, threatened to report him both to the commander and his father and carry through the threat if he persisted. He had enough of this whole idiotic thing, and unfortunately, the day offered no opportunity to present this ultimatum. To make matters worse, Friday brought a letter from Tigris chock full of bad news. Prospective buyers and a lot of nosy people had been touring the Snows' apartment. They'd received 2 offers far below the amount that they would need to move to a modest apartment that Tigris had seen. The visitors distressed the grandmama, who camped out among her rose bushes in a great show of denial when they appeared. However, she overheard one couple who were inspecting the roof discussing how they would replace her beloved garden with a goldfish pond. Well, the idea of that, the roses, the very symbol of the Snow dynasty, were about to be demolished, precipitated her downward spiral into an even greater agitation and confusion. It was worrisome to leave her alone now. Tigris was at her wit's end and asking for advice, but what advice could he give? He had failed them in every possible way and could think of no road out of this despair. Anger, impotence, humiliation, those were all he had to offer. By Saturday, he almost looked forward to confronting Sejanus. He hoped that it would come to blows. Someone should pay for these indignities of the Snow family, and who better to pay for it than a plinth? Smiley, Bug, and Beanpole were as eager to go to the Hob as ever, as they were getting tired of spending Sundays recuperating. As they dressed for the evening out, the bunkmates decided to forego the white liquor for some fermented apple cider, which didn't pack as much of a punch, but gave the drinker a nicer buzz. The question was academic for Coriolanus, who had no intention of imbibing at all. He wanted a clear head when he dealt with Sejanus. As they were leaving the barracks, they got roped into an extra detail by Cookie and spent half an hour unloading a hovercraft full of crates. "You'll be glad about it next weekend. It's Commander's birthday party," he said, and he slipped them a quarter bottle of what turned out to be cheap whiskey. It was an improvement over the local brew. When they arrived at the Hob, they had barely had time to grab some crates and squeeze into a spot against the back wall before Maud Ivory danced onto the stage to introduce the covey. Not great seats, but between Cookie's whiskey and the fact that they could enjoy some of Ma's treats instead of trading them, no one felt the need to complain, although Coriolanus privately regretted missing his time with Lucy Gray in the shed. He placed his crate practically on top of Sejanus's so that he would know if he tried to disappear again. Sure enough, about a half an hour into the show, he felt Sejanus rise and watched him move off toward the main door. Coriolanus counted to 10 before he followed, trying to attract as little attention as possible, but they were near the exit and no one seemed to notice. Lucy Gray began a downbeat number, and the covey played mournfully behind her. "You came home late, you fall on your cot, you smell like something that money did bought. We don't have cash, or so you say, so where did you get it, and how did you pay? The sun don't rise and set for you. You think so, but you're wrong. Your lies tell me I can't stay true. I'll sell you for a song." The song grated on him. It sounded like another Billy Top-inspired number. Why didn't she write something about him instead of dwelling on that nobody? He was the one who'd saved her life after Billy Top bought her a ticket to the arena. Coriolanus stepped outside just in time to see Sejanus rounding the corner of the Hob, and Lucy Gray's voice poured out into the night air as he skirted along the side of the building. "You get up late, you won't say a word. You've been with her, at least that's what I heard. I don't own you, so I've been told, but what do I do when the nights get cold? The moon don't wane and wax for you. You think so, but you're wrong. You cause me pain, you make me blue. I'd sell you for a song." Coriolanus paused in the shadows of the back of the Hob as he watched Sejanus hurry through the open door of the shed. All 5 of the covey were on stage, so who was he going to look for? Was this a prearranged meeting with the rebels to lock down their escape plans? He had no desire to walk in on a whole nest of them, and he had to resolve to just waiting it out when a woman from the Hob, the one that Sejanus had supposedly seen about the pocket knife, came out the door, stuffing wads of bills into her pockets. She disappeared down an alley, leaving the Hob behind. So that was it. Sejanus had come to give her money for weapons, most likely guns, that he was planning to hunt with in the north. This seemed as good a time as any to confront him, while the contraband was still hot in his hands. He crept over to the shed, not wanting to startle Sejanus if he was handling a gun. His footsteps were masked by the music. "You're here, you're not. It's more than me. It's more than you. It's more like we. They're young and soft, they worry so. You're coming or going? They need to know. The stars don't shine and shoot for you. You think so, but you're wrong. You mess with mine, I'll hurt you too. I'll sell you for a song. During the applause that followed, Coriolanus peered around the shed. Its open doorway. The only light came from a small lantern, the type that he'd seen some of the coal miners holding at Arlo's hanging, positioned on a crate at the back of the shed, and in its glow he could make out Sejanus and Billy Top crouched over a burlap sack, out of which protruded several weapons, and as he took a step in he froze, suddenly aware of the barrel of a shotgun positioned inches away from his ribs. He drew in his breath and was beginning to raise his hand slowly when he heard the tap of shoes behind him and Lucy Gray's laughter. Her hands landed on his shoulder with a, "Hey, I saw you slip out and Barbazor said if you..." And then she tensed, aware of the gunman. "Inside," was all he said, and Coriolanus moved toward the lamp with Lucy Gray holding tightly to his arms. He heard the cinder blocks scrape on the cement floor and the shut door behind them. Sejanus leapt to his feet. No, it's all right, Spruce. He's with me. They're both with me." Spruce moved into the lamplight, and Coriolanus recognized him as the man who had restrained Lil the day of the hanging, the brother that Sejanus had mentioned, no doubt. The rebel looked over them. "Thought we agreed that this was just between us." He's like a brother to me," said Sejanus. "He'll cover for me when we run. He'll buy us more time." Coriolanus had promised to do no such thing, but he nodded anyway. Spruce directed his barrel at Lucy Gray. "All right, what about this one?" "I told you about her," said Billy Top. "She's going north with us. She's my girl." "You two aren't together," said Spruce, his gray eyes moving from Coriolanus to Lucy Gray. Coriolanus had been wondering this as well. Was she really going with Billy Top? Had she been using him, as he had suspected? "He's seeing my cousin, Barbazor. She sent me to tell him where to meet up tonight is all," said Lucy Gray. So she just lied to defuse the moment. Was that it? Still unsure, Coriolanus played along. "Yeah, that's right." Spruce considered it and then shrugged and lowered the gun, releasing Lucy Gray from its hold. "I guess you'll be company for Lil." Coriolanus felt his eyes go to the cache of weapons. 2 more shotguns, a standard peacekeeper rifle like the ones they used in target practice, some sort of heavy piece that appeared to launch grenades, and several knives. That's quite a haul you got here." "Not for 5 people," Spruce replied. "It's the ammo I'm concerned about. But be helpful if you can get us some more of that from the base." Sejanus nodded. "And maybe we don't really have access to the armory, but I can look around." "Yeah, sure. Stock up." Everyone's head snapped toward the sound. It was a female voice coming from the far corner of the shed. Coriolanus had forgotten about the second door since no one ever seemed to use it, and in the pitch blackness outside the lamp's light of circle of light, he could not say if the door was open or shut or could he make out the intruder. How long had she been hiding there in the gloom? "Who's there?" said Spruce. "Guns, ammo," mocked the voice. "You can't make more of that up, can you? Up north?" The nastiness helped Coriolanus place it from the night of the brawl in the hob. "It's Mayfair Lip, the mayor's daughter." "Trailing after Billy Top like a hound in heat," said Lucy Gray under her breath. "Always kept that last bullet somewhere safe so you can blow your brains out before they catch you," said Mayfair. "Go home," ordered Billy Top. "I'll explain this later. It's not how it sounds." No. Come and join us, Mayfair," invited Spruce. "We've got no quarrel with you. You can't choose your paw." "We won't hurt you," said Sejanus, and Mayfair gave an ugly laugh. "Of course you won't." "What's going on?" Spruce asked Billy Top. "Nothing. She's just talking," he said. "She won't do anything to us." "That's me. All talk and no action. Right, Lucy Gray? How do you enjoy the capital, by the way?" The door gave a small creak, and Coriolanus had the sense that Mayfair was backing away, about to flee, and with her would go his entire future. No more than that. No, it would be more than that. It would be his entire life. With her would go his entire future. No, more than that, his very life. If she reported what she'd heard, the whole lot of them would be as good as dead. And in a flash, Spruce lifted his shotgun to shoot her, but Billy Top knocked the barrel toward the floor. Coriolanus reflexively reached for the peacekeeper's rifle and fired it towards Mayfair's voice. She gave a cry, and there was a sound of her collapsing to the floor. "Mayfair!" Billy Top bolted across the shed to where she lay in the doorway. He staggered back into the light, his hands shiny with blood, spitting at Coriolanus like a rabid animal. "What did you do?" Lucy Gray began to shake the way that she had in the zoo when Arcane Crane's throat had been slit. Coriolanus gave her a push, and her feet started moving toward the door. Go back and get on stage. That is your alibi. Go. Oh, no. If I swing, she's swinging with me. Billy Top charged after her. Without hesitating, Spruce shot Billy Top through the chest. The blast carried him backwards, and he crumpled to the floor. Well, it's only half a page, and we've got 2 people dead. In the stillness that followed, Coriolanus registered the music coming from the hob, and for the first time since Lucy Gray had finished her number, Maud Ivory had the entire warehouse caught up in a sing-along. Keep on the sunny side, always keep on the sunny side. You better do like he said, Spruce told Lucy Gray, before they miss you and someone comes looking. Keep on the sunny side of life. Lucy Gray couldn't take her eyes off Billy Top's body. Coriolanus grabbed her by the shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Go. I will take care of this. And then he propelled her toward the door. It will help us every day, and will brighten everything all the way. She opened it, and they both looked out. The coast was clear. If we keep on the sunny side of life, yes, sir, just keep on the sunny side of life. The whole hob broke into drunken cheers, signifying the end of Maud Ivory's song. They were just in time. You were never here, okay? Coriolanus whispered in Lucy Gray's ear as he let her go, and she stumbled across the pavement into the hob, and he slit the door shut with his foot. Sejanus checked Billy Top's pulse. Spruce stuffed the weapons back into the burlap bag. Don't bother. They're dead. I'm planning on keeping this to myself. What about you 2? Same, obviously, said Coriolanus, and Sejanus stared at them, still in shock. Him too. I'll make sure of it. You might think about coming with us. Someone's going to pay for this, said Spruce. And he retrieved the lamp and vanished out the back door, throwing the shed into darkness. Coriolanus fumbled forward until he found Sejanus and pulled him out after Spruce. He forced Mayfair's body out of the shed with his boot and firmly closed the door on the murder scene with his shoulder. There. He'd successfully made it in and out of the shed without touching anything with his skin, except for the gun that he killed Mayfair with, of course. No doubt that was covered in his fingerprints and his DNA. But Spruce would take that whenever he left District 12, never to return. The last thing he needed was a repeat of the handkerchief scenario. He could still hear Dean Highbottom taunting him. Do you hear that, Coriolanus? It's the sound of snow falling. For a moment, he inhaled the night air. Music, some sort of instrumental piece floating over them. He guessed that Lucy Gray had made it onto the stage but had not yet reclaimed her voice. Grabbing Sejanus by the elbow, he steered him around the shed and checked the passage between the buildings. Empty. He hurried down toward the side of the hob, pausing before they turned the corner. Not a word, he hissed to him, and Sejanus' pupils went wide, sweating into his collar, and he repeated, No, not a word. Inside the hob, they took their seats, and next to them, Beanpole sat propped against the wall, apparently blacked out. On the other side of him, Smiley chatted up a girl while Bug killed the whiskey. No one seemed to have missed them. The instrumental ended, and Lucy Gray had pulled herself together enough to sing again, choosing a number that required all the covey to back her up. Smart girl. They would likely be the ones to discover the bodies since the shed was their break room. The longer she kept them all together, the better an alibi it would be. The more time Spruce would have to get those murder weapons out of the area, and the harder it would be for the audience to place anything in time. Coriolanus' heart pounded in his chest as he tried to assess the damage. He thought no one would much care about Billy Top except for Clerk Carmine, maybe, but Mayfair, the only child of the mayor? Spruce was right. Someone was going to pay for this. Lucy Gray opened the floor to requests and managed to keep all 5 of the covey on stage for the rest of the program. Maud Ivory collected the money from the audience as usual, and Lucy Gray thanked everybody, and the covey took a final bow. Then the audience began to shuffle toward the door. We need to head straight back, Coriolanus said quietly to Sejanus, and they each threw one of Beanpole's arms over their shoulders and headed out with Bug and Smiley trailing behind. They traveled about 20 yards down the road when Maud Ivory's hysterical screams cut through the night air, causing everyone to turn back. Since it would have been suspicious to keep going, Coriolanus and Sejanus swung Beanpole around as well, and then very quickly the peacekeeper whistles blew and a couple of officers were waving them back to the base. They lost themselves in the herd and did not speak to each other again until they'd reached the barrack, heard their bunkmates snoring, and snuck into the bathroom. We know nothing. That's the whole story, Coriolanus whispered. We left the hob briefly to piss. The rest of the night we were at the show. All right, said Sejanus. And what about the others? Spruce is long gone. Lucy Gray won't tell a soul, not even the covey. She won't want to put them in danger, he said. Tomorrow we'll both be hungover and we'll spend the day on the base. Yeah, day on the base. Sejanus seemed distracted to the point of incoherence. Coriolanus grasped his face between his hands. Sejanus, this is life or death. You have to hold it together here. And Sejanus agreed, but Coriolanus knew that he didn't sleep a wink after that. He could hear them shifting around the whole night, and in his own mind he replayed the shooting again and again. He'd killed now for the second time. If Bobbin's death had been in self-defense, what was Mayfair's? Not premeditated murder. Well, not murder at all, really. Just another form of self-defense. The law might not see it that way, but he certainly did. Mayfair might not have had a knife, but she had the power to get him hanged. Not to mention what she would do to Lucy Gray and the others. Perhaps it was because he hadn't actually seen her die or even had a good look at the body, but he felt less emotional than when he killed Bobbin. Or perhaps it was the second killing. It was just easier than the first. At any rate, he knew that he'd shoot her again if he had to do it all over. Somehow that supported the rightness of his actions. The next morning, even the hungover bunkmates made it to the mess hall for breakfast. Smiley got the scoop from his nurse friend who'd been on duty at the clinics the night before when they brought in the bodies. Well, they're both locals, but one of them's the mayor's daughter. Hey, Amber. The other one's a musician or something like that. Not any of the ones we've seen. They were shot dead in the garage behind the Hob, right during the show. Only none of us heard it because the music was so loud. Did they find out who did it? Hey, Amber, asked Beanpole. No, not yet. These people aren't even supposed to have guns, but like I told you, they're floating around out there, said Smiley. Killed by one of their own, though. How do they know that? Asked Sejanus. Shut up, thought Coriolanus, knowing Sejanus he couldn't be one step away from confessing to a crime he didn't even commit. Well, she said they think the girl was shot with a peacekeeper's rifle, probably an old one that got stolen during the war, and then the musician was killed with some sort of shotgun the locals used for hunting. I don't know. Probably was 2 shooters, Smiley reported. They searched the surrounding area and they couldn't find the weapons. Long gone with the murderers, if you ask me. Coriolanus' nerves unwound a bit as he ate a forkful of pancakes. Who found the bodies? That little singer girl, you know, the one in the pink dress, said Smiley. Maud Avery, said Sejanus. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, she freaked out. They questioned the band, but when would they have had time to do it? They barely left the stage. Anyway, no guns were found, Smiley told them. Shook them up pretty good, though. I guess they knew the musician guy somehow or another. Coriolanus stabbed a link of sausage with his fork, feeling much improved. The investigation was off to a good start. Even so, it could still be bad for Lucy Gray, having the double motive of Billy Top being her old flame and Mayfair having sent her into the arena. And once the arena was brought into it, could he be implicated? No. No one from 12 knew that he was her new love, except for the Covey, and Lucy Gray said she would keep them quiet. Anyway, if she had a new love, would either of them entirely care about Billy Top? They might want to kill Mayfair, though, as a form of revenge. And Billy Top might try to defend her. Actually, that was not far from what actually happened. But hundreds of witnesses could swear that Lucy Gray had been on stage for all but a brief period of the show. No guns had been found, and it would be tough to prove her guilty. He would have to have patience, give things time to simmer down, but then they could be together again, in many ways. Yeah, he felt closer to her now than he ever had in this new, unbreakable bond. In view of the past night's events, the commander locked down the base for the day. Not that Coriolanus had any plans anyway. He would have to steer clear of the Covey for a while. He and Sejanus floated around trying to look normal, playing cards, writing letters, cleaning boots, and as they knocked the mud from the treads, Coriolanus whispered, "What's the escape plan? Is it still on?" "I have no idea," said Sejanus. "The commander's birthday isn't until next weekend, and that's the night we were supposed to go. Corio, what if they arrest an innocent person for these murders?" Then our troubles are over, thought Coriolanus. But he only said, I think that's highly unlikely with no guns, but let's just cross that bridge when we come to it, yeah? Coriolanus slept better that night. Monday, the lockdown ended, and the rumor mill claimed that the murderers had to do with rebel infighting. If they wanted to kill each other, then let them. The mayor came on base and pitched a fit to the commander about his daughter, but since he'd spoiled Mayfair rotten and let her run loose like a wildcat, the feeling was that he had no one to blame but himself if she had been keeping with a rebel. By Tuesday afternoon, the interest in the murders had died down to the extent that Coriolanus began to make plans for the future as he peeled potatoes for the next day's breakfast. The first thing was to ensure that Sejanus had given up on the escape plan. Hopefully the events in the shed had convinced him that he was playing with fire. Tomorrow night they would have mopping detail together, so that would be the best time to confront him. If he didn't agree to abandon the breakout, Coriolanus would have no choice but to report him to the commander. Feeling resolved, he peeled with such zeal that he finished early, and Cookie let him off for the last half hour of his shift. He checked the mail and found a box from Pluribus loaded with packets of strings and assorted musical instruments, and some kind of note saying that there was no charge, but he put them in his locker, happy at the thought of how happy the covey would be when it was safe enough to see them again, maybe in a week or two if things continued to settle down. Coriolanus began to feel like his old self as he headed to the mess hall. Tuesday meant hash. He had a few extra minutes and went to pick up another can of powder for his rash, which had finally begun to heal. But as he came out of the clinic, a base ambulance pulled up and the back door swung open, and two medics pulled a man out on a stretcher from the back. His blood-soaked shirt suggested that he might be dead, but as they carried him inside, he turned his head, and a pair of gray eyes landed on Coriolanus, who could not suppress a gasp. Spruce. The door swung shut, blocking him from view. Coriolanus got word to Sejanus after hours, but neither knew what it meant. Spruce had clearly been mixed up with peacekeepers then, but why? Had they connected him with the murders? Did they know about the escape plan? Had they found out about the guns that he had purchased? What would he tell them now that he'd been captured? Wednesday breakfast, Smiley's reliable nurse let them know that Spruce had died from his wounds during the night. She really didn't know, but most people thought he'd been involved with the murders. Coriolanus went through the morning on autopilot, waiting for the other shoe to drop. At lunch, it did. A pair of military police officers came to their table in the mess and arrested Sejanus, who went without a word. Coriolanus tried to mirror his bunkmates' shocked faces. Obviously, he parroted them, saying there had been a mistake. Led by Smiley, they confronted the sergeant at target practice. "We would just like to say that there's no way Sejanus committed those murders. He was with us all night." "We never were apart," ventured Beanpole, as if he could have possibly known, blacked out as he had been against the wall, but all of them backed him up. "I appreciate your loyalty," said the sergeant, "but I think this is about something else." A chill went through Coriolanus. Something else? Like the escape plan? Spruce didn't seem likely to have spilled the news, especially because it would have affected his sister. No, Coriolanus felt certain that his Jabberjay must have made it through to Dr. Gall. This was the fallout. First Spruce's arrest, and then Sejanus. For the next 2 days, everything seemed to tumble forward as he tried to reassure himself that this was in Sejanus' best interest, as the bunkmates pleased to see their friends were denied. As detention stretched on, he kept waiting for Strabo Plinth to descend in a private hovercraft and negotiate his discharge, offered to upgrade the entire Air Force fleet for free and whisk his errant son back home. But did his father even know about Sejanus' predicament? This wasn't the academy where they call your parents if you mess up. As casually as possible, Coriolanus asked the older soldier if they were ever allowed to call home. Yes, everyone was allowed a biannual call, but only once they'd put in 6 months. All other correspondence had to be by mail. Not knowing how long Sejanus might be in lockup, Coriolanus scribbled out a short note to Ma, generally informing her that Sejanus was in trouble and suggesting that Strabo might want to make a few calls. He hurried over to mail it on Friday morning, but was waylaid by base-wide announcement calling all but essential personnel to the auditorium. There, the commander informed them that one of their own was to be hanged for treason that afternoon. One Sejanus Plinth. It was so surreal, like a waking nightmare. In drill practice, his body felt like a marionette being jerked here and there by invisible strings, and when it ended, the sergeant called him forward, and everyone, his fellow recruits, Smiley, Bug, and Beanpole, watched while Coriolanus was given the order to attend the hanging to fill out the ranks. Back at the barracks, his fingers were so stiff he could hardly manipulate the uniform buttons, each one carrying the impression of the capital seal on its silver face. His legs had the same lack of coordination that he associated with bomb time, but somehow he wobbled to the armory to collect his rifle. The other peacekeepers, none of whom he knew by name, gave him a wide berth in the truck bed. He was certainly tainted by association with the condemned. As with Arlo's hanging, Coriolanus was instructed to stand in a squad flanking the hanging tree. The size and volatility of the crowd confused him. Surely Sejanus had not garnered this sort of support in just weeks, until the peacekeeper van arrived and both Sejanus and Lil stumbled out in their chains. At the sign of the girl, many in the crowd began to wail her name. Arlo, an ex-soldier, was toughened by years in the mine, and he had managed a fairly restrained end, at least until he'd heard Lil in the crowd. But Sejanus and Lil, weak with terror, looked far younger than their years, only reinforced by the impression that two innocent children were being dragged along to the gallows. Lil, her shaking legs unable to bear her weight, was hauled forward by a pair of grim-faced peacekeepers who would probably spend the following night trying to obliterate their memory with white liquor. As they passed him, Coriolanus locked eyes with Sejanus, and all he could see was the 8-year-old boy on the playground, the bag of gum drops clenched in his fist. Only this boy was much, much more frightened. Sejanus's lips formed his name, Corio, and his face contorted in pain, but whether it was a plea for help or an accusation of his betrayal, Coriolanus couldn't tell. The peacekeepers positioned the condemned side by side on the trap doors. Another tried to read out the list of charges over the shrieks of the crowd, but all Coriolanus could catch was the word treason. His eyes averted as the peacekeepers moved in with the nooses, and he found himself looking at Lucy Gray's stricken face. She stood near the front in an old gray dress, her hair hidden in a black scarf, tears running down her cheeks as she stared up at Sejanus. As the drum roll began, Sejanus squeezed his eyes shut, wishing that he could block out the sound as well, but he could not, and he had heard it all. Sejanus's cry, the bang of the trapdoors, the jabberjays picking up Sejanus's last words, screaming it over and over again into the dazzling sun. Ma! 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 That's really sad. It's really sad. Oh, man. Talk about trial by fire. They didn't even get a chance to defend themselves, or maybe he didn't try. I don't know. Sejanus died calling out for his mom, because truthfully, he's just a teenager. Man, that's hard. Hard, hard, hard. Well, on that extremely sad note, we do have Roll for Slime tonight in a complete shift of feelings. I will see you all for that. Orders are mailing out today, of course. I'm almost done with all of the June. What page are we on? Great question. We're almost done. I need to get the next book. We just finished page 470. Sorry. The numbers look like, the zeros look like 8s. Yeah, right? That perks you right up. Tonight is not Pride. Monday is Pride because I'm waiting for Pride Charms to get in Avery. So Monday will be Pride because I think they're going to arrive on Friday night. Tonight is a combination summer Disney. Yeah, exactly. So that is fun and all sorts of fun. And then once I get all of June's stuff done, I'm going to make some really cool grab bags for July. I have some new like summer themed add-ins for new grab bags, which I think is going to be really fun. And then I need to make the dragon egg slimes for you guys and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I will see you all tonight at 5:30. We have a full house. It's going to be great. I think it's the end of this set of pins, and then we'll do new Disney blind box ones later. Okay, bye guys. What time is Pride? I think it's 5:30 also on Monday. Yeah. I know, nice.